and the feelings are mutual.
I just wish I could have like a summary somewhere, so I wouldn't have to read the whole thing.
Yeah, it was a good year this time compared to last time we were there. Holy mackerel, Batman.
No, way before.
Those were some crazy days, Gary, let me tell you. Ooh, Lord. It's like, man, how did this crew get together?
Based on showing that one of the main purposes is for tourism.
Hey, Gary. Yeah, doing good. You too?
Just learn something.
Walton County Tourist Development County Council December 5th meeting is now begins at 9:01. First, I'd like to ask if everybody either turns off their phones or puts them on silent, please. And we'll stand for the invocation and the pledge, please. Let's bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we ask you for your guidance today for this board as we work together with our community, businesses, and tourists to accomplish our goals for the benefit of all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I wonder who that was.
That's five.
It was just at the right time.
That's a $5 charge right there.
For each board member.
That's right. Well, it's good music too. Okay. Let's start out with any public comments before we get started? There are none. Okay, we have the minutes. Oh, we got a quorum. Yeah, we got to jump that one, don't we? All right, first let's have a quorum call. Pam Avery,
Here.
Gary Brillmeyer, Jim Richard, Richard Veldman, Commissioner Anderson,
Here.
Mark Hodgson,
Present.
Matt Hagan,
Here.
Brian Christensen, and Tim Norris, present. All right, we have a quorum. All right, now approval of minutes. Do we have a motion or any changes? We have a motion.
Do you have a second?
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, financial report. Miss Cindy.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Cindy Self, Administrative Specialist. I will be presenting the financials for August and September on behalf of Jason Cupshaw today. August has put us 92% through the year, with all spending at or within perimeters up to 80%. Reserves are still being adjusted through closeout of the year. These are unofficial numbers, and we will have official numbers for you at the next meeting. FY17 predicted revenue was $21,200,000. We ended August at $21,585,041.71, putting us at 101.82% year to date. Moving to September. September put us 100% through the fiscal year, with all spending within the perimeters up to 91%. Some funding for projects from 17 will roll over into the 18 year. Unofficial reserve report, approximately $40,919,482 in reserves. FY17 predicted revenue was again $21,200,000. We ended September at $23,527,709.89, putting us at 110.98% to close out the year. TDT Fed tax collections overall for the year. To finish, we did August at 5.85, up by 5.85 year over year. September was up by 2.38% year over year. FY17 as a whole was up by 8.15%, totaling the $23,527,709.89.
Very good.
We ask the council to accept the financials for August and September as presented. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, council?
I do have a small question.
All right.
I'm kind of gonna look over to Matt for a second. When you look at the budget and brief, what percentage is over or under do you typically require, like, minutes or notes explaining the expense and overage? Like, you know, is there a industry standard? Or-
Yeah, I
know
mean-
what we do, but.
Right, I mean, kind of, you know, what I've, over the years, have kind of looked to in terms of a materiality standard is 5%.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's what we do. I would ask that, is there any way when we are 5% under or over, that there be a brief explanation of the expense when you're looking at the, yeah.
So I think what you're trying to say is if there's a variance that's 5% or above,
Yeah.
then we'd be looking for a narrative, something to, like a memo, just a brief, you know, little explanation.
Yeah, there's a couple that are just a little over, there's no explanation.
Yeah.
Nothing major, just curious sake.
All right, I'll show you that.
Thank you.
Jason, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve?
After the motion?
A motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right. New business. We need to elect the 2018 Executive Board, TDC Council. So I would like to start with the chair and ask Commissioner Anderson, since he's sitting vice chair, and he said that his plate is more than full for next year and that he would have to pass. So with that being said, I'd like to see if there's a nomination for chair. Any nominations for chair?
I nominate Richard Bellman.
Okay, we got Richard Bellman. Any others? All right, we have a motion. Nomination Richard Bellman. We have a motion?
So motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I recuse. I
Congratulations.
recuse my vote, Bill.
Okay. I'll vote for you. All right, Richard Bellman is the chairman for the 2018 TDC year.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you for doing that.
Having said that, if I can, I just want to take a moment and say thank you to Tim Norris on behalf, and certainly I think I can speak on behalf of the whole council. This is my third time being on the council. It's probably the smoothest year we've had. And my hat goes off to you. Well, thank you very much on behalf of the whole council. And your footsteps are going to be hard to follow.
Thank
So
you,
I'll do the
Richard.
best I can to emulate you.
I'm sure you will. Thank you.
On behalf of everybody, thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you. All right, now for vice chair, we have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mark.
Mark Hodgson.
Thank you, and I'll second.
Mark will
Thank you very
accept.
much.
Okay, good, good. All right, any others? With no others, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Those abstain, okay. Those opposed, motion carries. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you very much, sir.
Congratulations.
You're
Mark.
stepping up. All right. Treasurer. Now, we have any Mark, would you like to stay treasurer first?
Matt, you mean?
I mean, Matt.
Yeah.
Not Mark's vice chair.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm enjoying the role, and, it's been good for me to meet weekly with Jason and some of his staff and, you know, see the transactions kind of cross through the system, which has given me a good understanding of, you know, your budgetary, you know, process and also, you know, the flow of the funds. So, if, you know, if, I'd be honored to stay in the
Alright.
position, yeah.
I'd like to so motion accordingly.
Second?
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thanks.
Now we need a secretary. We have any nominations or anybody would like to be secretary? I think you're secretary now, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Any?
Can't be both.
Can't be both. We have anybody that'd like to be secretary? Don't have to do a whole
I'll
lot.
be happy to do
Okay.
it.
We're just gonna make
Perfect. All right, make a motion.
To, recommend Pam as
Pam Avery.
secretary for
All right.
2019.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second.
Okay,
Make a
we have
motion,
a
second.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank y'all, each one of you. Thank you for your stepping up.
Can I ask for one additional thing? Lisa is the new chair and having been the past secretary and I've been chair, would you continue to send me the minutes as you will be doing to Pam? Because that's real helpful for me as chair, to go over the minutes of the prior meeting. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
All right, congratulations, 2018 TDC Board. All right, now, let's, next thing that's on the list, let's see, Jay would like to introduce some people.
Real quick, good morning, council, Mr. Chairman. We do need to do committee appointments. I don't
Oh.
think they will change very much unless somebody would like to change committees from what they're serving on. So if you want to take care of that before I introduce a couple of new employees.
Yeah, sorry. This is, okay, we have Jim Richard on the Marketing Communications Committee. He's not here, but he's gonna stay on, you think?
He is.
And then Brian Christian staying on Beach Management.
He is.
Gary Brillmeyer, you wanna stay on? Okay, Gary's gonna stay on Destination Improvement. And Pam, she's a board, yeah, she's secretary, she's on executive board.
Secretary now, so she really should.
She
remove
comes
herself
off.
from that position.
All right.
Somebody else should take her place.
Anybody wanna get, be a member of the events committee? If not, I'll do it.
I think it'd be you.
Okay, it leaves me. All right, then I'll put me on the events committee. All right, thanks, Jay. Thanks for reminding me.
And just real quick, while we're talking about new positions, obviously with the council, I just want to introduce two new employees earlier in the meeting, so one can actually leave and go back to work. But Gabby Elmore is our new PR specialist. Gabby, would you like to stand up and be recognized? Thank you, Gabby. And then Mike Bjorn is our new shop foreman, and he'll be over beach operations, and he'll be responsible for the shop over there. And there's Mike there. And so he'll be responsible for our fleet maintenance. Since our fleet has grown over the years, we really need one person who's responsible for all that. So anyway, I just want to introduce those two folks to you and welcome them aboard.
Thanks, Jay. And welcome. All right, need to approve the 2018 meeting dates. Everybody's okay with that? Are there any changes that need to be done? If we don't, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Meeting dates are approved. Thank you. All right, Mike, come on down.
Thanks, good morning.
Good morning.
This morning, we're requesting your approval to move forward with advertising an RFP for website redesign services. As a part of that, reallocating the necessary funds from, in the FY18 budget from the brand activations line item to the website line item. With your approval, we'll bring it before the Board of County Commissioners at the next opportunity. So I'd like to give you a little bit of background on that. We, as part of the marketing committee, formed a website subcommittee recognizing that there were issues and weaknesses that needed to be addressed in the website. It was the opinion of that subcommittee that the most effective way to address all of the needs was to put out an RFP for a redesign. We brought that before the marketing committee. They unanimously agreed with that opinion. As far as the budget goes, the brand activations line item is the most logical place to get those funds from. We are in a position where we do not have any brand activations currently booked or contracted for in 2018. It's a program we are evaluating. The booth that we deploy at these activations is nearing the end of its useful life, so we thought this would be a good time to evaluate and kind of pause that program, at least for the majority of the remainder of 18, reallocate that to our most important marketing tool, which is our website, and really get it right with the new redesign and rebuild in an RFP process.
The booth that you're talking of is the cube, right?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Can you tell us a little bit about, what the costs entail? Is this strictly for the design and the activation of the site, or does this also include the maintenance ongoing for a year's time, or?
This would be for the rebuild and design of the site. And then whoever gets that contract, there'd be additional fees on a monthly basis for maintenance. Our current website was a $235,000 expense.
How long ago was that?
That was, the RFPs came back in June of 2014. So
Okay, 3 years ago.
Then some build out time, so the site's about 3 years old. We anticipate cost going up a bit since that time and technology changing a bit. We've come a little bit above that number.
Can you talk a little bit about what the weaknesses of the site are now and
Sure.
where you're trying to improve?
Sure, yeah, the site, as it stands now, is difficult to navigate. We did pay to have some usability testing conducted. We found from the results that users just had a very difficult time finding information that would be useful in planning a vacation, navigating the site easily. We've seen through our weekly analysis, or our monthly analysis rather, time spent on the site per visitor is very low. And a lot of it has to do with the platform that the site was built on. It makes it difficult for our staff to make updates. It doesn't have a whole lot of flexibility in what we need to do. It can't support some of the new technology, 360-degree video being one, which is something I'll talk about in the marketing updates later. So there are design and functionality problems as well as platform problems as well.
Okay.
So how did you determine the 300,000? Is that what it is?
Yes, and that's just an estimate based on our most recent rebuild of the website and the bids that came back some 3.5 years ago on that. And using that as a benchmark.
My bottom line, you're asking to reallocate money from brand activation to the website. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
From a monetary standpoint, is that a wash?
It would still leave money in brand activations for some potential for the fall, for us to still do 1 or 2 activations this year.
Okay.
So it wouldn't wipe out brand activations altogether. At the beginning of the year, we started with $475,000 in that line item. We did have 1 activation so far this year in New Orleans in November, which I'll go through in my update. So it does leave funds left, even if we move that $300,000 in brand activations, to still do something this fall.
But the bottom line is that brand activation is going to have less money in
Correct.
2018.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, do we need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion approved, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right,
Morning, Chairman, council members.
good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
Police operations. Appreciate your time this morning. A little bit of business we have is Beach Ambassador Group that I manage has 3 full-time employees and 2 part-time seasonal employees. Part-time seasonal employees work from March through August. They work 40 hours a week. Last year we had some difficulties filling those positions. because they are a part-time, but they do require a 40-hour work week. So what I would like to ask is that we change that to 4 positions that work 20 hours a week. I found that I had numerous people that would like to work a less than 40-hour week, and or the flexibility to have one 40-hour employee and 2 20-hour employees. So it's a wash on cost, actually be less. As a 20-hour week employee, we don't have to offer them benefits, but as a seasonal 40-hour, we do have to offer benefits. So we're asking for that basically reclassification of employees and number of employees.
Brian, can you classify that and or so that you have the flexibility if somebody comes full-time?
I can,
or-
yeah, right.
All right.
We've discussed it with OMB, Finance Department, as to if it would be allowed. They say yes, as long as you don't exceed the number of hours.
Right.
The employee, the allotment of hours to employee can be flexible. So since it is a change in number of employees we have, we felt it prudent to bring it by this council for approval.
All right. But it does not restrict you to one or the other.
No. As long as we don't exceed the number of hours that we're offering.
All right.
So the request is recommendation to BCC for approval.
Okay,
So moved.
we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Miss Julie Cotton, come on down.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate being here. I represent Northwest Florida State College. I am the department chair for the hospitality department. If you can believe, we've never had a hospitality department at Northwest Florida State College. So I am the first department chair, and I'm proud to be representing a new department and new programs to offer to generate a workforce that is much needed, as you all know, being in the industry. Yes, I see Gary saying yes. We are happy to announce that we have started a hospitality AS degree. It's a 2-year degree. We started that program in August of this past year, and we are applying for a 2-year culinary degree to start August of next year. So in a nutshell, those are our 2 programs. One thing that I am going to go over with you today, Mr. Norris and Mr. Cutshaw attended a partners meeting that we hosted last month at the College of Niceville, and we went over, we are applying for Triumph funding, and the hospitality program is one of those that is within that Triumph funding grant that we're applying for, in hopes to put some a building and labs in at Fort Walton Beach campus to support this program. So I'm just going to go over this briefly. You have in front of you a packet with more information and my business card, so feel free to reach out to me. I don't want to take up a lot of your time today, but if you have questions that ensue after today, feel free to reach out to me. So Northwest Florida State College is going to ask for Triumph funding. We're putting in an application in January for 3 centers of excellence. The advanced technology is an A&P program, and I'll show you the degrees that we will award under that program. That will be located in Crestview at the Crestview Airport. Then a simulated city, which will be right here in Walton County, will be located at our Defuniak Springs campus, and I'll show you the programs that we'll award under there. And then our Hospitality and Culinary Arts Center of Excellence at our Fort Walton Beach campus. The degrees to be awarded underneath the A&P, that's the Crestview project, would be airframe and power plant mechanic, that's the A&P portion of that. Electronics, automated manufacturing, and industrial maintenance. This is a great location with the I-10 corridor there, space to be able to house this. And then simulated city is the one I mentioned that we'll have at our Defuniak Springs campus. Unmanned vehicle systems, natural gas operations, building industry technology, agribusiness management, which fits in well with the Owl's Head property that we're hearing out of Walton County is a top of mind with you all. Water treatment technologies and advanced water treatment technologies. all of these programs have really bubbled up from industry. So industry came to us and said, there's a need, can you do something? And certainly we've stepped up to the plate to help that. I'm working on two different technologies, two different programs here. Okay, and then the Hospitality and Culinary Arts Center of Excellence, like I said, will be located at our Fort Walton Beach campus. That's not limited, though, to students just to come to Fort Walton Beach. We'll be offering these programs online. We'll be offering these programs virtual. They may attend a class at our South Walton Center, or the Defeniac Center, or our Crestview Center, and then teachers will travel as well. So we can offer in multiple locations as well as the online component. Just some data on the industry. You all are in it, but overall, CareerSource has told us there's about a 12% increase that we're looking at over the next 10 years in the hospitality industry of jobs. And presently, 9,000 plus jobs are in the Walton and Okaloosa and Bay County area that are just hospitality and leisure related. So the hospitality industry, it's a two-year program. It's 60 hours, and we will be offering certificates underneath that. The certificates you can see: event planning management, rooms division, guest services specialist, and food and beverage. So that's just under the AS hospitality degree. These students have the ability to transfer. FSU Panama City now has a 4-year hospitality degree, and then UWF at our Fort Walton Beach campus, there are a tenant of ours there, and they presently have a 4-year degree. So these students, as well as we have an AA in hospitality, a little bit different program. The AS degree is a workforce ready program. These students graduate from here and can go straight into the workforce. More of an AA degree student would want to truly continue right then into a 4-year degree. Culinary Arts, that's the program that we're rolling out in August of this next year, August of 2018. And it's, again, a 2-year, 60 credit hour program. We will have certificates in culinary arts, chef's apprentice, and culinary arts management and operations. All of these certificates just roll up underneath the degree. So if they finish a certain amount of classes, they'll get the certificate, and then hopefully will continue on with the full AA. But this allows them to earn some credits and certificates while they're pursuing their degree. A list of some of the courses that will be offered that are offered now underneath the hospitality industry: intro to hospitality, accounting, hospitality management, front desk, back of the house, housekeeping, marketing and sales, food and beverage purchasing, cost control. So a wide variety. This curriculum, as well as the culinary curriculum, I'm happy to say, was dictated by industry. That's a little bit different sometimes in education. And so coming from a hospitality background, I was able to reach out to industry folks and say, okay, what do they really need to learn? And so these were some of the courses that were available for us to choose. Underneath culinary, you can see the list there: baking and pastry, culinary techniques, classical and international cuisine. So there is a wide variety there for them to learn. These are some renderings of our building that we envision at the Fort Walton Beach campus. So it will house 3 labs for the culinary students, a skills lab, a full kitchen that we could cater out of, and students can get the ability to be able to have internships working right there on the campus, as well as a baking and pastry lab. We are planning about a 300-person meeting facility as well, which is needed in that area of Fort Walton Beach. But that meeting and event facility will be available for the general public to use. So here's a list of our community partners so far. We've been pleased with the support from industry, And that's what I'm here today to ask you for. We would love a letter of support from the council in support of all of these programs, especially the hospitality program. We've already received a $25,000 donation from Dale Peterson with Dale Peterson Resorts, and Don Lipke made a $100,000 endowment in his wife's name for the culinary program. And then you can see a list, and some of these may be your businesses that we are adding to daily for additional partners in kind, as well as taking our interns or commitment to hire a graduate. I would like to recognize Jason Kutchall. He is a graduate of our program, as well as Cindy. And Cindy, they're graduates of our project management program. So kudos to them for going through, and congratulations and thank you for being a graduate. So we certainly are, very supportive of industry and any needs that they have.
Okay. Just want to say a couple things. Do y'all have any questions or any thoughts? The meeting that Jason and I went to was very informative, and as you can see here, it's a very broad program for our two counties, Okaloosa and Walton County. So they're starting to spread out some to be able to address a lot of the needs that our communities are having. And obviously the hospitality and culinary is a big one for us. And I hear a lot of complaints of employees not having the proper training and some skills, especially in the restaurant industry. My wife's in that industry, and it's hard to find good people. So I think this is a real good step for us to finally get in there and bring them up another level or two, so we can be able to have that type of quality employee that will bring these tourists back, or just yourselves go back to these restaurants, because it's such a good experience, whether it's the food or whether it's the customer service, either way. But anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. And both programs do have required internships.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a requirement to graduate.
Do the internships take place at some point during the 2-year period?
They do.
Okay.
They're available in fall or summer. So whenever the Hilton, for instance, when I met with them, said probably the summer is the best time to do an internship with us. Legendary and the Ramada and Destin and Fort Walton said, no, we need them during the summer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give them the ability to do an internship at any stage that they would like.
Great.
During their program.
Now, I applaud you for bringing that program here. It's long overdue, and it just fits so well with the concentration of service and tourism, that we have in our area, and it'll be a home run.
Well, great. Well, thank you all for your support.
Just 1 second, Julie.
Julie.
I got a couple questions. One, just as a statement, and it's hard to believe with as low unemployment as we have in Walton County, but we have restaurants that have to close 2 days a week because they can't hire enough staff and the proper staff to keep their restaurants open 7 days a week. So I applaud you for this program. Second, have you gone to Okaloosa County with the same request you're asking for us?
Yes, I have.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I know Triumph loves this inter-county stuff.
Right.
So I applaud you for that.
Yes, we have, in fact, I have a meeting with Jennifer Adams this afternoon, so today's my TDC day. But I was presented to that board prior to Jennifer when Chris Holly was interim, and so they have asked that I meet with her again, and then certainly get a signature signed. So.
Well, I think it's a good program, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Tony, just to add, you also mentioned that it includes Bay County as well?
The 9,000 jobs.
Oh, okay.
But yes, while we do service Walton and Okaloosa County only, and we have Gulf Coast and Pensacola State to our side, students can take classes at any of these state colleges.
I'm in the rental business, and not in the food business, but some of the classes that you're offering, I'm here to tell you, we keep bragging about 22,000 jobs created, and maybe Pam can agree with this, but trying to find help in the tourism industry, it is tough. it is tough. So I applaud you for bringing something to the area so that we can hire local people that are trained properly, rather than bring new people from the outside. You know, my preference is to always try to hire local, but if they're not qualified, you can't hire them. So I applaud you. This is gonna be wonderful for us.
And Jason and Jay and I have been looking at dates and facilities to host a partner meeting in Walton County. Our last meeting was in Niceville, and it was 8:30 in the morning. We didn't get a lot of Walton people there. We invited, but I understand the drive and, you know, in the morning, especially for the culinary industry and stuff. So we're working on January or February hosting a partner meeting here and doing the same presentation, bringing our president over here, Dr. Devin Stevenson, and hosting one here and explaining and laying out the programs as well. That way we can get more buy-in and more partners involved.
Julie, I attended a meeting about the Triumph program and the sudden deadlines that appeared. It was like, all right, now it's available and you gotta have your application in by such and such a date, like a week later, I think it was. And then, have you been approved at this point to go forward to the January application process?
We submitted our pre-application,
Okay.
I think it was November 17th
Yeah.
or 15th or 17th.
Right.
We submitted our pre-application. We have not heard back yet.
And you won't, because there's only one or two people that are even actively employed in Triumph right now.
Well, we are moving forward with our full application. It is a tedious process.
Right.
We have a wonderful grant writer on board at the college, Michael Lachey. And so we are all moving forward. So that was one charge. They said, please go get partner letters so that we can
Sure.
start attaching those to our application.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
I would like to just say one thing, and that I hope the industry leaders show true compassion. And, I mean, yes, we all need help during the heat of the summer, but not to just throw these individuals into the frying pan because it's a meat grinder. And that's kind of one reason that we at the Hilton said, better the spring and
Maybe better
fall.
in the summer.
Because you can actually nurture and develop these people and take time that they deserve. Because, listen, I've been in the industry a while now, but I can tell you some horror stories when I started and how I'm still in this industry. I don't even know. So please, just show compassion and nurture them. I mean, truly, because it's already hard to get them.
It's certainly the use and abuse, we do
Yeah.
very cognizant of that, and,
Yeah.
and so, and it was your HR director that had
I know her pretty well.
Well, if they're good interns, you want them, you may want to hire
You want them to come back,
You want them
and
to
you
come
want to
back.
hire
Scare 'em
them.
off.
You know,
Yeah, don't
You're
scare
not
'em
gonna
off.
do that if it's the summer, you just go, here, go, you know.
Absolutely,
That does not
absolutely.
work.
No.
Well, hey, we're looking for an approval or a motion. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is that a motion? We have a second?
Second
Second?
motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
Good luck.
All right.
Good luck.
That's a great program.
All right,
It really is.
Mr. Tusa.
Good morning again. Just real quick for this next agenda item, the request recommendation to the BCC to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the updated TDC ordinance plan. I'll just walk you through. This is pretty much a basic document. It outlines the ordinances that created the TDC and how we're funded, and then how we're going to use those funds over a 2-year period. This 2-year period will begin in January of 2018 and obviously run through December of 2020, 2019. Anyway, just a few things. If you look at the bottom of the sheet, and I apologize, we had included the wrong information in the packet. So we have put a little additional piece next to you. It looks like this, very brief, page and a half. So if you look at that, it just shows the anticipated revenue and what that would be in that 2-year period. And we've projected $46 million, which obviously half of that would be $23 million per year. So that kind of follows suit of what we've been doing budgetary-wise. And then it outlines how those dollars would be utilized. And you can see it is tourism, advertising, promotion, sales, visitor center, beach maintenance, shoulder season, promotions, beach nourishment, and product development, beach safety, and then administration, training, and staffing. And you can see there a dollar range attached to each one of those items, And that range is from the low end of the $23 million per year to an increase of up to 8%. And we used the 8% number based on what we had last year. So we felt comfortable with that number. We didn't want to overextend that number and put a projection out there that wasn't obtainable. So we feel comfortable in these numbers, that it's a good range from where we are to the growth that we had. And we might not get there with that growth, but it's in there in the frame. Any questions?
You, just for the record, Lisa's certainly aware of this, that all the council members know that all the stuff in here that's in blue, that you and I have spoken about.
Right, and that document we are not even considering.
Just for the record, to let everybody know that that's deleted.
Right, correct.
And
We
is
are
being
not-
replaced by this.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. We are not considering that item at all. I'm not quite sure when that got put in there. When I spoke with legal, they had sent the wrong document, and that was inadvertently put in there. So the document you have, the brief one that's a page and a half,
Right.
is the one that we go on to the BCC in January.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. In terms of the allocation 1 through 4, compared to the previous 2 years, how is this different?
It's the same. It's broken up the same way. We did it the exact same, but what we did was we lowered the projections. Last time, when it was presented 2 years ago, there's a higher range there of what was projected. I think it was as high as 23%. So we've lowered that range to that 8% range that I mentioned earlier.
So I also have a question about the difference between number 1 and number 3, which is shoulder season advertising promotions. Seems to me that we have a strong tourism presence here in what we call our season. And the shoulder season, it seems is less spending than the number 1 bucket. But I'm sure there are other things in
They're
there.
based on pennies. So that's what's not reflected here, is that they're based on the pennies. So for the pennies, the shoulder season doesn't have as much money in that penny as does the regular season, the peak season promotion that we do. Can I explain that for you?
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so Jay, these items 1 through 6 with the range, if I just quickly add up in my head the low range of the first 6, it comes up to something more in the range of 54 million.
That's correct. It is based on the 2 years, not 1. So in terms of thinking of our budget, so the range is from our 46 million, what we're projected, upwards of as high as 8% on top of that $46 million.
But I added up the low range numbers and I come up with 54 million. So if I add the high range numbers, I'm gonna be higher for sure. So I just wanna make sure we're not duplicating something. It's when you need Jason here, right?
Yeah, he's the one who presented these numbers and gave these numbers to me, so, but, I'll double check those numbers, before we present this to the BCC, and, I'll talk to him, he's out of town on military
Right,
leave.
sure.
So, I'll see if I can get some clarification on that.
I think the high range is the 56 divided by the 2.
56 divided by 2 would be, no, 23.34.
Yeah, thank God I'm not in finance.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of in the 54 to 58 million dollar
Yeah,
range.
28, 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27 to 28.
Let's write that one.
So it's 27 to
I'm
29.
not a big counter, but
We'll go back and we'll
Yeah.
adjust those numbers where we're at that, 46 range.
Yeah, it
So-
could be just presentation. It could be that one of these line items, like admin, training, staffing, is already considered inside some of the other numbers. So it could be something as simple as that, but it might throw people off if you're trying to present it like that.
Yeah, I'll have to, I'll double check that, and what I'll do is I will pull the numbers and have them reflect based on the 23 million per year, because that's what this
Sure.
is. If this is annual, the way that's laying it out, so what I'll do is I'll pull that out, and I'll just drop those numbers and get us to that 23 million figure, and then we'll add 8% on top of that. So I'll recalculate those numbers, before we present it to the board.
Okay, and send out an email if you would,
Yeah.
with your findings.
Yeah, make those calculations and then send it back to us, and then, and still we need to prove this to send on to the, BCC.
Yes, I mean, we really present this, it's just basically a formality of just saying, hey, we review this, and we're good for it to move forward to the BCC, for their consideration and approval. So, if you want, we can amend that, agenda item based on the conversation we just had, that I'll amend these numbers for what we just discussed. I'll email them out to y'all, and then we can bring it forward to the board. We won't bring it forward to the board until the beginning of January. So we have some time to get these numbers right, and then get them back to you via email.
Okay, all right. All right, so we want a motion to, approve to move this to the BCC
I'd like the motion, I'll make the motion,
with,
with the stipulation that, the executive director, recalculates these numbers, to reflect accurately what you presented to us today, which is an 8% increase per year, and give us copies of that by email. And with that amendment, I would make that motion.
okay, we have a motion. We have a second?
I second with the same amendment.
Same, okay, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I'll work on this today, and I'll get it out to y'all, later today or tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay. I know there was some confusion on that, so that's understandable. All right, next. We have parking structure. It's Greg Darden.
Thank you for having me today, I appreciate it. My name is Greg Darden. I actually am with Structure Market Solutions, but I represent a much larger team, which we'll define in just a few moments. We'll get used to the electronics and equipment. So, before we get started, I wanted to define something that we're talking about today, and throughout this presentation, that's mobility. Just as a matter of definition, mobility, and mobility items are anything that we as individuals use to move from point A to point B. Mobility items could be things as well as parking or shuttle operational systems, all the way down to the finer points like bikeways and pedestrian sidewalks and whatnot. So we're not here to discuss any one item. As you'll see in a moment, we're here to discuss things that could improve the mobility standards and needs in some portion of the county. So, quick definition of what has been going on and why we're here and how we got this close. Our team, again, I'll define this for a moment. Our team has been watching this mobility system mature over the past several years. And approximately 14 months ago, we presented an unsolicited proposal to the TDC for suggestions and a forward-looking concept of how our team proposed that we could help rectify and make improvements to the mobility and transportation system in the southern portion of the county. That proposal was found in favor, which propagated a public solicitation by the Board of County Commissioners. Other teams were formed, and we were inevitably selected as the preferred team. Once selected, our team has invested about 6.5, 7 months of our own time and resources collecting information, gathering due diligence, and hosting a number of meetings. To date, counting this meeting, we've hosted 2 public meetings, 2 additional meetings that we piggyback off of, like this one that were publicly announced. We're also hosting meetings today and tomorrow in the northern portions of the county, both at the Phoenix and Freeport. And then we've hosted approximately 40 individual meetings that were one-off meetings with either stakeholders, boards, committees, or citizens that we felt that were important to mobility, to understand what mobility needs were was the portion of the county. So after collecting all this information, we developed an approach, a master plan, if you will, for improvements to the southern portion of the county as related to mobility. And we're gearing up to present those findings and suggestions to the county commission next Tuesday. So in brief, that's kind of where we've started and where we are today. I'm going to give you a brief presentation of some of our thoughts and processes that we'd like for the county to consider. So a little bit about our team, some of our major team components. Again, I'm just the talking piece of the team. It's a much broader group. But Vulcan Engineering is part of our team. Vulcan has a TDM, or Transportation Demand Management Studio, that has done a lot of work in this area, panhandling in general, with transportation, mobility needs and findings, linear parking, parking operations, regional, Southeast United States, parking operation, Shell Operational Company, Ordison Construction, Jerry Payne Design, Landscaping Architecture, Bex and Land Legal, and a number of other companies, but these are a few of the companies that are part of our team that we represent here today. So our team, first off, developed a series of concepts and goals. I'm not going to read the slides. You have those in front of you. You probably have reviewed the package already. But these are some of the more important goals and aspects that we wanted to focus on as we developed our master plan and our findings and ultimately our suggestions to the county commission. You can dig out some of these yourself. I'm glad to go into these questions. But ultimately, we wanted to make sure that we provided a sustainable and long-term approach and path to provide continued accessibility to the beaches to all the public and the citizens of the county. We wanted to maintain a family-oriented presence and maintain safety and security along the way. We wanted to make sure that our approach did not meet with obsolescence. In other words, as we make suggestions and implement improvements, we want to make sure that those don't become obsolete in subsequent phases and subsequent improvements. We also wanted to utilize technologies to make improvements as much as possible. And one that's not listed on here, but I'll mention again and later on in the presentation, is that we want to leverage the strengths and the goals of other groups that are doing similar type work in other portions of the county. We've already started working with 38 Mobility and other groups, Northwest Florida Regional Planning, and we want to create a collective plan where we're all working together towards a common good. So from a scope of services, when you're considering mobility improvements, pardon the phrase, but you can't just fire one bullet. You've got to have a meaningful experience and an experience that is lasting and that is going to be adopted and accepted by the public. You've got to address many things. It's not just parking. It's not just management of the parking, but it's all the things listed in front of you: shuttle systems, pedestrian conveyance programs, wayfinding signage programs. You can't just address any one of these and expect those changes to be sustainable and meaningful. Our team is addressing and considering all of these things as part of our scope of services. So again, we've developed a long-range strategy, if you will, a master plan goal and objectives. At the forefront of that, we want to make sure that we improve and consider to improve accessibility to the beaches. We want to transition towards in the future, a remote park and ride program. To be quite honest about it, you can't just continually provide parking as a non-sustainable action. We can get into a lot of strategies with you, but our long-term approach is not one of just continuing to provide parking. We just don't think there's enough property to provide that, and it just creates and fosters congestion on 38 and City 98. We want to expand and start the build out of public shuttle systems, not just for the public, but also for the employees. Again, we're leveraging relationships and building relationships with other groups that are working on shuttle type programs that are bringing people in from the northern portions of the county or from the east and west from adjacent counties. We want to leverage and build those relationships, foster those relationships, so again, we're all working in one direction. And it also reduces redundancy and overlap of services. Continue to improve the beach and right on the beach, but pedestrian and bike paths and conveyance programs, which the TDC has already started. Long-term, we'd like to see additional right-of-way considered for improvements. There's already a sufficient right-of-way in most locations along 38 and Scenic 98, but looking forward, we like the idea of creating some dedicated shuttle paths where it's possible. And then lastly, we want to promote technologies to make these improvements as opposed to just continuing throwing money at buying property. So technologies do afford us some abilities to make improvements and save money. So what I want to do for a moment is give you a forward-looking thought at improvements that could be considered that we're looking at. And then when I finish these slides, I want to get very specific and discuss the ask that we are gearing up to ask the Board of County Commissioners next week for consideration. But from an immediate low-lying fruit perspective, these items that I'm about to go over to us are obvious things to consider, and we'll be bringing these back at a later date, both to this council and also the county commission. The reason for these items, these are not park and ride necessarily located facilities or improvements, but as we've done our due diligence, we've put boots on the ground. We've actually counted existing parking spaces within the South Walton County system. Inclusive of Scenic 98 and 30A, there's just under 1,300 parking spaces available to the public right now that the county physically owns and controls. When you put that in perspective, you have approximately 60,000 full-time citizens that are using those spaces. You have approximately 12,000 second, third homes, condominiums that are largely in rental programs that are using those spaces to some extent. And then lastly, you have just under 4 million visitors that visited this county last year. So there's a tremendous amount of stress on the existing parking program that's in existence today. Well, I said a moment ago that you can't keep building out parking. That's true, but in the same sense, shuttle programs are not necessarily affordable to run 12 months a year when demand wanes. So we believe that implementation or consideration for future implementation of securing some additional properties along Scenic 98 and 30A and making those properties available for future parking, shuttle, or other mobility needs in the future would be beneficial. So with that said, I want to take each of these locations and discuss them briefly. Starting at the west side of the county, you may recognize this location as the Pompano Joe's and the beach access location. There's a piece of property that we're looking into right now, have not secured it, but we're looking into a piece of property that could provide both remote parking and up to 125 new spaces for citizen parking in the future. As I show you these slides, I want you to also consider something else. Part of our recommended services and practices that we would like to begin working with the county and the TDC on is actually improvements to the existing surface parking spaces that already exist at these locations. These improvements could include any combination of removing some of the parking spaces and making way for shuttle drop-off locations at the existing beach parking locations today. Secondly, we'd like to recommend and for the county to consider the possible removal of some of the existing parking spaces at these locations to make way for additional bike parking. Many of the beach parking locations don't have sufficient or any bike parking or scooter parking. And when a bike or a motorcycle or scooter approaches these locations, they're forced to park in a traditional parking space, which is a waste of property. Lastly, we'd also like to consider looking at some of these existing parking locations as a means to park golf carts. We're not promoting or discouraging a policy with golf cart parking. That's not our place here. The point is that golf carts exist in this system, and when they do park in a traditional parking space identified for a vehicle, there's additional property left over that could be used for a second golf cart. So we'd like to consider some restriping exercises to provide a more efficient and effective use of existing parking spaces at these locations. So with that said and done, all of that, what I just said, is applicable to all the locations I'm showing you as well. The second site, you may recognize this site as the Malton Coast area. I can't point on the screen, I apologize. But the TDC and the county has a well-used public beach access location that is geared for some additional improvements in the near-term future. We're discussing with a property owner who has a piece of property in this near proximity, some type of joint venture. We're not ready to discuss the details yet, it's still preliminary, but if successful, we believe that this could bring about 180 spaces to the public parking system. Continuing to move east, you may recognize this location as the Fort Panic location. Apologize. Fort Panic is at the left end of the yellow circle. There's also another newer public beach location to the west or left side of the circle. This location has been one in flux for us. We've tried securing properties in this location. We're kind of down to our last straw, if you will. We do have a site that we're looking at right now, but I'm not prepared to report any firm findings about its availability for alternative parking and shuttle accessibility. Continuing to move east, you're at the 393 and 38 location. You may recognize this location, commonly called the Gulf Place location for an area. And you have the Edwardine, highly successful Edwardine public beach access point here. Again, I cannot point, but at the southeast corner of where 393 terminates into 30A, there's a new restaurant that has just opened up. Directly north of that restaurant, we do have an option on a piece of property, again, directly north to that recently opened restaurant. Because of the growth of this area, the success of the Edwardine Beach Access Point, the businesses in the area, and then also some pending transitions regarding the amphitheater that is at the northwest corner of Gulf Place. We believe that this location could be one where a garage is considered initially. Again, we don't have the details available to present those just yet. We'll be bringing those findings back as they're made available, and we've got data to support that suggestion. Continuing to move east, we're now at the 283 and 30A intersection in the northwest quadrant of the yellow circle, if you will. That's the Great Beach, public beach location. Highly utilized public beach locations, and also incidentally where certain citizens can pull onto the beach with approved credentials. The county and TDC recently partnered together and purchased a 7-acre piece of property. It's the triangular piece of property at the top of the yellow circle, if you will. Our suggestions initially for this location, until it's determined exactly the best use for that 7-acre site, is to make some minor improvements to that existing gravel parking lot, mainly safety improvements. We also think that with some creative and inconsequential efforts, we can get the parking spaces up about 100 spaces above and beyond what is there now. But again, the initial suggestions for this site would be safety improvements, lighting improvements, the possibility of including a bathroom or a series of bathrooms for public use. But more importantly, we'd like to transition this site and start using it as a transitional tool into a park and ride program to test and get the citizens more inclined to use park and ride. Specifically speaking, what we would like to see is a north-south small shuttle system, that regional type shuttle that's running from that parking lot south into Great Beach during high season periods. Again, that shuttle will be used for citizens, but also for employees of the Great Beach area, and it starts building that mindset into a park and ride feature. Secondly, that site, that particular 7-acre site, is also being used as an employee shuttle for certain businesses back to the east in the seaside location, and we'd like to pick up the reins on that transition and start utilizing that in a more informal manner for employee parking at that location and transitioning them back east towards the watercolor seaside and Seacrest general areas. Continuing to move east, we have one last site. It's at 395 and 38. You may recognize this This site is evolving at this point. We have a site that's under an option agreement, and the short of it is as it evolves, and we get better data on it, we'll bring it back for a better consideration by both you, this board, and the county. So this next slide is a little bit redundant to this body, but you understand that these improvements can be paid for as they are approved through any number of directions. One is that you can use county cash or county debt, if you will, TDC support, and/or direct user fees. Just as a matter of public record, that's the way that you typically invest in infrastructure and help pay for it. Specifically speaking, what I'd like to do now with this slide is kind of tie up this presentation and fully articulate the request that we are proposing for the county commissioners next week. If all the improvements I suggested to you happen, which is a very, very big if they are approved and they do happen, you're looking at increasing the public parking system by about 900 cars. That's just a matter of point of record. Again, this is presumptuous, and many of these sites are not prepared yet to be brought back for consideration. Specifically speaking, to start this mobility improvement endeavor, what we are specifically suggesting and recommending are three things at this stage. We're suggesting and asking for consideration for the development of the starting point of the shuttle program that would be utilized both for the public and for employee use. Secondly, we're asking for approval and recommendations for approval for a wayfinding home-based application that would facilitate both the use of the shuttle system and also the use and guidance of a managed parking system. Third and finally, we're asking for consideration for approval to move into a managed parking system within the South Walton County area as related to parking spaces that are owned and controlled by the county. The reason that this is a very, very important consideration is that at this moment, the county spaces are not being managed. They just are a free-for-all for those who want to use them. From our research and our due diligence efforts, our findings are suggesting that in many cases, a large majority of these public spaces are not actually being afforded to for use by the general public and the people who are intended to be using these spaces, whether it's for retail use or whatnot. The system is not being managed. So it is very, very possible that the system could be managed without a fee-based structure. You can manage a parking system without collecting user fees, but because of the linear aspect of this system, this is going to be an expensive system to manage. We believe that a user fee program is the best direction to go. This is our recommendation again. So as a recommended practice, we've come up with suggestions for fees associated to the parking system. Our recommendations at this stage are the first 30 minutes for these parking spaces will be free. If you can order your meal to go and drive and pick it up at an establishment, and you do your business and get out in 30 minutes, it's a free experience. The first hour is $2. Each hour thereafter is $1.50 with a $15 daily match for those who are staying all day long for beach access or whatnot. Now, before I go to the next item, these rates were established or made suggestions to you from research that we've done and from other beach type operations that we're involved with. Our goal was to make these rates actually cheaper than most of the surrounding other locations in nearby areas that are charging the park. Lastly, we've had experiences developing these type of programs for other beach type venues, and there's always a concern about the local citizens and taking care of them. Our suggestion at this point in time, simply a suggestion, is that to create value, much like this body and the Board of County Commissioners have done with fire permits or dog permits on the beach. Create value by establishing a cost, a nominal cost to a annual pass made available to citizens of the county. We're suggesting $35 per year, and has not been approved. It's just simply a recommendation. That pass would not guarantee a parking space. Parking space is not guaranteed by right to anyone at this time. But if a parking space was available, then that parking space that says on that pass would be there for free. So again, in brief recap, what we're preparing to do is, or gearing up to do, is to present a similar type proposal to the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday of next week, asking for their consideration to allow us to move into a contract development stage on both the shuttle program, the wayfinding application program, and the managed parking program. Once we move into those negotiations with county staff, we can determine the specifics about the program with their help and their compliance. Everything else that I showed you with the individual sites, those are presumptuous at this stage, and then we would be bringing those back to the county commission and this body for consideration once we understood the facts and full findings each of those locations on a one-off basis. So at this stage, what we're asking for, first I'd like to take questions, but then what we're asking for is your recommendation for us to carry forward to the Board of County Commissioners next Tuesday. Questions? Yes, sir.
Greg, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to just ask a side question here a minute, and,
Yes.
and maybe you can help answer it. Jay, we have an agreement with the Great Beach State Park where we pay for that daily permit. Has that been considered in this study? And the other part of that question is how many parking spaces are there? There's a ton there.
There is,
And that's not addressed in here.
That is not addressed in here, and that's something that we would need to reconsider that program if this were to be adopted. You know, if we're charging for parking in one area, and then we're providing free parking in another, I don't know if that's a little contradictory, so I think that's something that we're gonna need to evaluate as we move forward, and if the BCC is interested in adopting this plan.
Well, the thing is, that's beachfront, where everything else that you've addressed this morning, Greg, is off the beach parking, and then you have to have some conveyance to get them to the beach. Do you know how many spaces are at the state park? There's a lot.
There's quite a few, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. And the other comment I wanted to make is that we also have a beach access in Inlet Beach that is probably very underutilized. Is that a correct statement?
I don't think so. I think Inlet Beach is pretty inundated with folks over there and parking. I think Inlet Beach, while it's not in this first phase, I think that it would certainly make the cut for a second phase for consideration for expanded parking over there.
Okay, because that's a huge parcel there. I mean, it's got a lot of parking places, but you're not addressing that in this report. Is that part of the 1,200 or 1,300 spaces you alluded to? Does that include Inlet Beach?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We did, boots on the ground, we may have missed one somewhere, a space somewhere. But
That's
plus
not
or
my
minus,
point.
there's about 1,283 total
Right.
parking spaces, and that is soup to nuts, east to west, the entire southern part of the county.
All right. My feeling is that when we move forward with this, that somehow we address that state park issue.
It has come up, we've talked about that actually in one of the public workshops, so that is something that we need to have a discussion on whether or not we want to consider continuing with that program, and if we do, then what does that look like? Because like I said, if we're providing, if the TDC is underwriting free parking in one area, but then there's paid parking throughout the county in other areas, I think there's a problem with that, one, just by nature of charging and not charging, and then also if we're charging in the public areas that the county owns, and we're providing free parking at the state parks.
I understand
I
that.
do think the potential is there to inundate the state parks with people wanting to free park there,
Right.
so.
No, I understand. I just wanted to bring it up because that is additional parking that's available, and you're correct, because we've been paying for those passes every day, and now we're proposing, but I think somehow that's got to be included in the mix because there are so many parking spaces at the state park that are not being utilized.
And if I may, the state park program is been a wonderful program.
Yes, it has.
but with all due respect, it's not in the full control of the county. You're relying on the state parks to continue doing that. And our thoughts, or our team's thoughts are, is to try to transition into a model, a sustainable model that the county is in full control of. So that's part of the consideration as that program is evaluated.
I understand. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a bunch, but I'm not gonna bring them up all right now. Just a couple. I didn't hear any figures on what it would cost the county in this.
Okay, at this time, without any other items that we don't know that may come up when we start negotiating the contracts, the 3 items that we've given you, we believe are self-sustainable. There would be no cost to the TDC nor to the county for these programs. In fact, they should be actually cash positive.
So we've gone from 54 million to 25 million to 0 in
So,
a matter of months.
Let me address that. So when we started our master planning effort, we were requested early on for a glimpse at what the total cost of this program could be. At that time, and still, we don't know all the properties that could come into focus and be available to the county commission for consideration. But nonetheless, we were asked, give us a snapshot of what you think this total build-out would cost. At that time, we looked at the sites that we showed you, and we looked at a long-term build-out. If these sites is capable of having vertical parking on it. So we used existing codes, and we extrapolated what it could cost long-term to fully develop these sites as maximum parking and ride-sharing programs. That number was in roughly the $50 million range. Yes, sir.
Just for future notice reference, you might want to make that real plain when you're explaining it to county commissioners.
Yes, sir.
Because you scared the bejesus out of all of us.
So noted. Yes, sir.
Over here you say county payment, debt, tax increase borne by all citizens and businesses. Is that the parking itself, the paying, the day-to-day meter stuff or whatever it is?
Yes.
Or is that an increase, you think we need to have tax increases to help pay for all this?
That's all right. I'm kind of hard to hear you, sir. Let me step up.
The debt, is that going to be paid just from the use of the parking, or is it going to be an increase on our citizens and businesses?
Okay. The answer is correct. The cost to build out this proposed program is paid for strictly by the proceeds coming in from the program. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're not proposing any additional debt by the county. We're not proposing any additional taxes by the county.
One other question.
Yes, sir.
And this may not have anything to do with it, but like your parking garage, are you gonna have X number of dedicated parking for, say, Gulf Place, and X number dedicated for the new restaurant there, and X number dedicated for Ed Walleen, you know? If it's public parking, not that I mind employees parking there, but I'm not necessarily sure we need to have designated parking places for X enough. If the county is involved in this, in my opinion, it has to be first come, first served for everybody.
So, long question, a lot of components. I'm gonna start by saying, in the parking and transportation world, you're absolutely correct. You always strive to never, if at all possible, have dedicated parking spaces for a single user group. Completely agree. When you're looking at a parking lot or a parking garage where it's a controlled environment as opposed to parallel right-of-way parking, which is more difficult to petition or allow uses for, when you're looking at garages and parking lots, you can have lease, L-E-A-S-E, leased parking, if you will. but you would never want to dedicate its use. By having general leased parking to some user groups, if it's decided that's appropriate, not my place to say just yet, but if you have leased parking and you also have open at large parking, then you create what in parking what we call shared uses. And the controlling of those systems allows to maximize the use of that parking space as much as possible by as many user groups. So I guess to kind of recap what I think you were asking, Commissioner Anderson, was that I believe that the only places that we would probably recommend at this stage any dedicated parking uses for would be at the one-off small community parking lots. This county has a number, we have 72, I believe, quote, community parking lots, and many of these are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And I think that it's going to be very important, and we'd be prepared when we move into actual discussions with your staff to make these recommendations. But I think it's going to be very important to protect those community parking locations for those in the community, those communities first. I think that that's something you're asking, kind of my thoughts and recommendations, and I'm telling you that. But these larger parking lots, you're spot on. I don't think that it is a sustainable measure for us to dedicate any of these larger parking locations for dedicated uses. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, somewhat. And I'm not saying, by the way, Pam, that I don't want y'all's employees parking anywhere in these places. That's not what I'm saying. I want a first come, first served basis.
Yes, sir.
And God knows your employees and Mark's, all of y'all's, Gary's, are Walden County residents. So they would get free parking anyway if they bought it.
May I address your question a little bit more, sir?
Sure.
So, in a managed parking system, one of the beauties of managing a parking system is you can, through either fees or other management techniques, you can push user groups to park in certain locations. What I mean by that is that, and this is a better answer to your question, there is the potential within this system for parking spaces that are owned and controlled by the county that are in less than favorable locations for the general public to perhaps be bifurcated or to be utilized primarily by employees or those who don't necessarily need to be at the frontier of retail businesses or beach activities. So again, I don't want to say anything that's misleading. And in further respect, and after your follow-up comment, there could be some areas, but again, these areas would not be determined without input from the county, engineering, planning, and other people. So I want to be fully clear and honest with you. I think that there could be specific locations that are designed for certain user groups. So I hope that better articulates your question.
Tony, can I ask you a question? Do you feel like it's an obligation of the county to provide employee parking? And the reason I ask the question is that every time that we build, or issue a building permit, parking is always an issue. Before the building permits even goes through planning, it goes through that whole process.
I think the county's obligation is for all the citizens of Walden County, and that includes employees.
Okay.
It would be better if we had enough for everybody. And like the parking lot at Grayton, I know Seaside employees use that quite a bit, and that's fine. The public used it quite a bit also, as did the employees of Frank's Cash and Carries and Chanticleer and all those places in there.
Right.
So, we have a problem with employee parking. They're taking up public parking anyway. So I'm not opposed to if we have parking lots that employees use them. They pay taxes. They're for the most part Walden County residents. So they're in the general system as I see
I
it.
just wanted clarification
Yeah.
from you. I'm not testing you or.
Yeah, my thing is, I worry about Gulf Place, and I'm not picking on Gulf Place, I love Gulf Place, it's one of my favorite places to go. But going out and renting half that parking garage, and then the people that want to go to the beach, that can't get a parking place at Ed Walleen or along the road, have no place to park.
Right.
That's just, that's just a thought. So those are things that I think you can work out with the commission.
Yes, sir, and it's,
And as I understand it, you're not asking for a recommendation. Right now, you're just asking that we agree to move this forward.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're simply asking for your understanding of what we're doing. And, if you could call it a recommendation, we're asking for your recommendation to allow us to go to the Board of County Commissioners next Tuesday, under the full light knowledge that we presented these findings to you, and we answered your questions at this stage.
Great. So you made a comment a little bit ago about, in response to Tony's question, that these 3 points, these 3 components of the program that you're asking for right now would be cash neutral to the county. They'd be essentially self-sustaining. Is that because it's in relation to the management of the existing 1,200 spaces? Because surely you're not proposing we can build these additional 935 and manage all of that at cash neutral, or are you?
No, you're correct. The cash neutrality comment is based off of a management program for the existing parking that's in inventory right this moment. And then also the existing right-of-way parking that the TDC has already budgeted and is building out right now. We've also included it in the plan as well. Now, the management cost of that, the budgets that we're using were based off of our internal costs for operating the system. Again, we're not being presumptuous. There's 2 components to building out this management program. One is identifying the technology and in building out the physical management system itself. And then the second part is the ongoing day-to-day operational characteristics of the system. And we've used our own budgets for the equipment and feel good about it, but at the same time, we've also used our own budgets for the operational characteristics. So just want to make that point clear, but it is inclusive of the 1,200 plus spaces only. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, one other question. The 54 million or 50 whatever million, I know it's a projected unknown.
Right.
It's a ballpark figure. In your presentation of adding about 1,900 to 1,000 parking spaces, is that 1,000 spaces in that $54 million number?
Correct. It was the roughly, well, back up. No, sorry, I had to think for a second. So what that projected $54 million number included was the theoretical budgeted purchasing of those properties, and then also the full build-out of those properties as vertical garages, which we're not completing at this stage. I don't have the number in my head for how many spaces that would be, but it would be the thousands of spaces.
Okay.
It would not be the quote 1,200, I'm sorry, the 900 spaces.
Okay.
That 900 number that I just showed you was if those 6 properties did come into the picture and they were all developed as transitional surface parking spaces only, with the exception of the 393 site, which we had suggested a consideration for a garage. So, in recap, the 54 million was inclusive of a lot more parking.
I got you.
don't have that number in my head.
Well, and the only reason I ask is when you start doing if you use 1,000 parking spaces at 54 million, it's $54,000 a space, and I went, this doesn't add up in my book.
Build a condo on that thing. All right.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Any other questions or any points?
Yeah, just a general comment. I had the benefit of sitting in on one of the individual meetings earlier with Greg, and so I've asked a lot of questions at that point. And earlier in the year, we had a discussion about shuttle and transportation and mobility and the needs of the community. And we kind of some of the takeaways from that discussion were that we would be we really ought to be more focused on a more comprehensive program. This is starting to look and feel like a comprehensive program to me. One of my broad comments to Greg has been that as long as we get the opportunity, the full opportunity to review and scrub the numbers and the budgets and the details and the fees and how does SPS get paid, and what are the returns and what's the exit strategy, and what does it all look like from top to bottom, what are we really agreeing to, then I would be in favor of at least moving forward, taking the next step. But I do think, as like anything, as long as we get the opportunity to do all of our due diligence, that this sounds like a worthy program. An impressive group from what I've seen.
I also attended an individual meeting, and I kind of came away with that same feeling, and today's a good day to just really let everybody get a feel for what's going on. And Commissioner Anderson certainly brought up some important issues that I think still need to be addressed. But I think I agree with you. We got to make some kind of step forward with the amount of 4 million visitors or 3.5 million visitors that come down here and have no place to park.
And or more.
One quick question, not a question, but just one quick statement. And not that it matters to me, I'm not a political person, but some of the other commissioners are. This does have political aspects that they have to consider. We have to, as me and them. From the standpoint, the public now paying for parking. That's a big issue. I'm not against that. I'm not saying that. It's a big issue, and it's, you're gonna have you got to sell there. You're talking about people not just down here, but all over the county coming down here and having to pay for parking now. And you go to Great Southern, you're gonna pay for parking. You go to Red Bar, you're gonna pay for parking now. So those are issues that I think you need to be aware of and be prepared for, because I can promise you they'll come up at the board meeting.
And one of the things that struck me about the presentation was that, during peak season and throughout those busy times, we're servicing close to 4 million people, visitors, that are coming into the area, in addition to all the second homeowners and the full-time citizens. And to only have 1,200 spaces, they're precious. They really are at a premium. So that's part of the crux of what you're putting forth here today.
Greg, Destin implemented a public paid parking lot across from AJ's,
Yes.
I think, right?
Yep.
Do you have any, in your research, did you talk to anyone there about how that was accepted by the public, by the local?
We do have knowledge of that system. Can't speak more to it than that. We do have knowledge. And the short of it is that parking lot is quite empty most of the time. In the parking world, we have a rule of thumb that we use, and that is people are cheap first and lazy second, with all due respect. Cheap first meaning that if there is free parking in the close proximity of where they're trying to get to, they will drive until the tires fall off, waiting for that free parking to open up, or cheaper parking to open up. Lazy second meaning that if all the parking is about the same cost, they'll drive until the tires fall off, waiting on a parking space to open up where they're trying to go. Application to your question is that parking lot you're speaking of is on the north side of 98. People there are no direct connections for pedestrians to get from that parking lot to the place of businesses, which are on the south side of 98. That is a divided 4-lane high-speed traffic. So between the fact that and I'm not discrediting Destin or anybody else, it just is what it is, but between that parking lot being remote, having to cross traffic, and then lastly, it is a pay-to-park lot when all the businesses on the south side of the street where people are trying to go are providing free parking. That parking lot is set up for failure of others.
All right. I think we've had an issue over the last few years, or as we've been growing with all the incoming tourists, we have an opportunity to kind of fix some of these problems. Transportation, I think the comprehensive plan is, as Matt alluded to, we're in the right direction. Making it comfortable for the county, the citizens, the commissioners, but also taking care of a problem. We have a problem. And so far, this looks like the right direction to take to solve that part, most if not all the problem. So I guess what we need to do is take it to that next level. Do we want to make a recommendation? Move it forward?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Second?
I'll second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you. Good morning.
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 With Dowling Educated Research, and I'll be presenting the summer 2017 visitor tracking results. Summer was good, like 6.7% increase in GDP, occupancy, average occupancy over 80%, over $300, RevPAR, over 860,000 room nights. And those visitors brought $1.2 billion in direct spending, which translates to about $1.8 billion in economic impact. So summer was pretty good. We're going to share an executive summary of the visitor tracking results. We interviewed over 1,500 folks, and we appreciate the properties that get involved in that. We do a lot of email surveys, but we also do a lot of surveying on the beach. And you can see where our visitors are coming from, most from the southeast. That's down just slightly from last year. Actually, we had more people coming from the northeast this year than last. And you can see the states from which most visitors come. Texas leads in the summer for the second consecutive year. And Georgia was second, Tennessee and Alabama also bringing a lot of visitors. And the next slide shows specific metro markets with Dallas, Fort Worth. And you can see Houston, you see the Texas influence. Atlanta remains strong. Most folks stay in condos, with about 1 in 8 visitors staying in hotels. And the typical travel party was nearly 7 people. And 4 out of 5 traveled with children. So summer's a big time. People driving in 5, 6, 8, 10 hours, bringing their children in the SUV. And they spend over 6 nights in South Florida. Most drive, and the folks who do fly in, a plurality use Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport. 1 in 5 were first-time visitors. That's good. We want to keep attracting new people. But over 1 in 4 have been here over 10 times. You've got a good, loyal base. Those are the loyals. They give us great ratings.
9.2 on the 10-point, 96% will return. And we break that question into you'll definitely return or you'll probably return. 77% say will definitely return. That's incredible. When we do this kind of research in lots of destinations, that is a very strong result. They come here for family vacation in the summer, for the most part. They also relax and unwind. It's the annual routine for some. They love our beaches, restaurants, they relax, they read, they shop, they go running, and they spend money. Almost $1,000 a day. Travel party spending around $6,000. They plan 4, 5, 6 months out, most of them, although about 1 in 6 plans less than a month. But most are really planning this out. And this is unique for this destination. People are understanding that in the summer, they need to make their reservations ahead of time. They need to make those plans. And they're talking to family and friends. They're also searching on Google and Yahoo and Bing. They're looking at the websites for the individual beach areas as well as visitsouthwalton.com. Almost all of them have smartphones and they use them before they get here. They use them while they're here to figure out what to do. Only 1% stop at the visitor center. They give the visitor center high rating. Many of them consider only one beach. They've been here before. They know what they want. On the other hand, nearly as many consider several beaches. So it looks as if the typical visitor tries several different beaches and then decides on one beach community. And they stay all over. And we ask them, we have one open-ended question we ask them. Can you describe, please, South Walton for someone who's not been here? And we get really interesting results. In fact, we have a 75-page verbatim report. If your Friday night's not looking very exciting and you want to read that, we just gave that to Jay and his staff. So people have very good things. They say it's beautiful, it's relaxing, great beaches, the kinds of things that I'm sure you hear. So we look at our typical visitor, around 50-ish, a little more female than male. Median income, $153,100, but the average income is $250,000. We have lots of really high income folks. The median obviously is the one where they're 50% who make more, 50% who make less, but when you actually figure in the average, you bring in those high income folks, the average income is about $250,000. And as we said before, most from the southeast. So questions about our visitor tracking for summer 2017.
What did you say the RevPAR was? You were quoting the RevPAR.
RevPAR was about 313, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Really? Per available room. Wow.
Very strong.
Wow. Jeez.
I have to raise my rates.
I know. You're cute.
I keep that.
Thank you, Philip.
We're not there.
Next.
Morning.
Andrews under Communications, here to give you our October and November highlights for the marketing side. First, we have a media overview. As you know, current fiscal year started in October, so we have a ton of new stuff running. But some key pieces that we have running that are a little bit new this year. On the left side, you'll see our Amazon Kindle Fire placement, which means anyone who opens their Amazon Kindle Fire, this is the first screen they see. On the right side is our Pandora placement. Same type of thing. When they open their Pandora app before their music starts playing, they see our ad. One really great thing that we were able to do with this, we're always trying to do as targeted placements as possible. So we do all of our geographic targeting. But as a next step to that, messaging specifically to those geographic target markets. So we were able to split our target markets for both of these placements between fly markets and drive markets. And so our fly markets are getting that plan ahead, fly south message. When it's getting really cold up there, you should fly down to us. And then the drive markets on placement are getting us ease into winter messaging with our new visuals. And then on Pandora, we have holidays in full swing and kind of playing the fact that you're listening to your music. So those two placements have started this year, and we're excited to see how those go. Added value, we have our current fiscal year to date. We've placed 2.9 million, a little bit over that, and we have received 1.6 in added value for a total of over 4.6 million in our total media value for the year. And then we also have our closed out 16-17 numbers here, just so you can see how we finished out last year. We ended up receiving over 2.4 million in free media placements, which led us to a nearly $7 million total media buy, and we only actually paid for over 4.4 of that. Our digital co-op to date, everybody's trending towards their numbers. This will actually end at the end of December. These are October numbers, so just the beginning. But everybody is looking to hit all of our click goals and exceed them as well. Our brand digital performance, we're continuing to exceed that industry average click-through rate. That Facebook carousel ad continues to be our top performer on mobile. People like to scroll through and see different parts of the destination. And we're actually working on a creative content update of that, just to refresh it a little bit to hopefully see those numbers continue to climb. But over 10 million impressions just in October. Search engine marketing looks a little bit different this month. What was different in the start of the fiscal year is we added the events grant marketing program, which I'll hit on a little bit in a minute. And so we were adding each individual event into our Google SEO program, and what we saw with that is our click-through rate was really suffering from that. So what we tested out in early November is adding a general events ad that goes into our events page. So we're still getting that traffic for our events partners, but it's not hurting the rest of the program quite as much, just because some of those words are a little bit more expensive to buy. So we have seen in November and December that our click-through rate goal was continuing to be exceeded. October, we hit industry averages, but we weren't quite at that goal. So as I mentioned, in this fiscal, we started our events grant marketing program. So this is our signature events performance just for the October placements. We do have print placements as well, but this covers just the digital. So we have some display advertising, some native advertising, and some social advertising for those events. And just those few events received over 45 million impressions. So that program is continuing to show us some good numbers. And then here's the events, or the experience events, which had display and social associated with them, receiving over 9 million impressions. And each of the event program partners are also going to get a report, an individual report showing how their specific campaign performed as well, just like we do with our co-op partners. Buddha Bourbon and Beer, I know Mike's going to touch on that a little bit in his update, but just from the media perspective, we did place display that was geo-targeted. We also placed some outdoor and then some social media and at-event social media, and that performed really well. We have in our creative portion, these were our 2 outdoor boards that we placed in the New Orleans market. So rather than trying to say, come to Buddha Bourbon and Beer, since it is a high, kind of expensive ticketed item, we were trying to just make sure that we were communicating that culinary excellence of the destination throughout the city in the time that we were going to be there with our chefs. So we had these 2 outdoor boards running, and they received over 1.6 million impressions throughout that flight. On the social media front, all of our channels continue to grow. We continue to see our neighbor in Panama City Beach paying for that growth, so that's why you see that so high there, but we're on trend with the rest of our competitors. And then engagement rate was a little bit lower for us in October, and we've talked to TDC staff about this. We're going to probably be adjusting our strategy here. Based on, I think I mentioned in the last meeting, our team did a visit to Facebook, and Facebook's moving away from engagement-based purchasing because those engagement-based ads are targeted towards what they call clickers. And clickers are people who will like, comment, share things. I'm personally not a clicker. I'll see something on Facebook, like it, it'll make an impact on me, but I won't touch a button. Clickers are only 10% of the Facebook audience. So when you're paying for engagement-based advertising, you're only hitting 10% of your potential audience. So what they're moving more towards is this impression-based. So that's what we're going to evaluate with TDC staff and determine where we should be allocating our dollars to make sure that we're making the most impact. And then also how we're going to come back to you guys and what numbers are going to be relevant to show you.
Catherine, so all the others before us, what are they doing to stay up in that slot?
More money.
More money?
More money.
Right.
Yeah, and then more frequent posting, which is another thing that we have adjusted for November.
Mhm.
When we get these numbers, we always do an analysis of what are they doing that's helping them. So posting more frequently on Facebook definitely helps, so that's something that we have adjusted. It's an ebb and flow. 4 months ago, posting more on Facebook was dinging you. So now it's to the point where if you post more, it's helping you. So just kind of following that algorithm and figuring out how to work best in it, so.
More money, more money.
More money.
Yeah.
And then our content marketing articles, we always have our tips and trips articles. These were the 3 from October. We have 3 up in November and then a few coming up in December. And we continue to promote those through our e-newsletter, social media content, and others. Did you have any additional questions?
Any questions, board? No, ma'am. Thank you. All right. Mike.
Good morning again. Just want to walk you through some updates of what we've got going on in the marketing department and bring some updates back from previous meetings. You may recall that at our meeting 2 months ago, we presented the brand campaign, the finalized brand campaign, and reported that at that time the marketing committee asked us to go back and really look at emphasizing where South Walton is in the world and where the state of Florida. With that feedback, Catherine just mentioned some of the specific ads that we're doing that are primarily focused on where we are. Some of these brand campaigns that more generally promote the destination, we've added back in the geographic locator. Depending on the application, that can be kind of note alongside the beach neighborhood as it is here, or in some other applications be the primary focus of the ad. So wanted to bring this back to your attention after receiving your feedback and marketing committee feedback as well. We've made those adjustments here, and I think it'll pay dividends for us. Going back to activation, so we did have Boudin Bourbon and Beer just about a month ago, first weekend in November in New Orleans. It was extremely successful for us. We had a large tented footprint in that event. As you can see here in this picture, at one end we had our experience booth with a seating and lounge area, as well as a display area for our staff to interact with guests, answer questions, distribute promotional materials, and that sort of thing. We also activated a digital photo booth to help people create some memories and takeaways of the event. The picture on the left here would be looking towards the other half of the booth. We brought chefs from 6 local restaurants, since this was a culinary event. And one of the goals of this event is to promote South Walton as a culinary destination. Those restaurants, chefs traveled with us, displaying their food, sampling their food at this event. We're the only other destination other than New Orleans chefs represented. It was extremely well received. All our chefs' stations were branded as South Walton. It was very obvious that we were kind of all together as one team, and this was the type of food and experience you could have in your vacation in South Walton. Went extremely well. The bottom right photo there kind of shows the event once it was up and running. The attendance was about 5,000. We had 7 folks interacting with guests throughout the event, in addition to our chefs that were with us, and we were fully engaged just about 100% of the time with the audience. So, in addition to the paid media that ran, the PR and the group sales effort that ran in conjunction with this event, we consider it a total success. Something that we are kind of a renewed focus in investing in technology is 360 video production. This is just one example of one that we recently finished, posted a couple of weeks ago. This shot at the View on 38. I guess it is just one example. This is the desktop version on YouTube, which has about 10,000 views so far in the 2 or 2.5 weeks that it's been up. Where this type of technology is really even more impactful is on a smartphone, where as you move your phone, you're moving through the scene in the video. We posted that to Facebook, again, about 2.5 weeks ago, and it's about 60,000 views on Facebook. So this is a technology, we have 2 more that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. If you follow our social channels, you'll see those there, where we can really immerse the potential guest or guest in the experience here in South Walton, and use technology to really show the sights and sounds and destinations as best we can. So there'll be more of that coming, and as we work to the redesign of the website, that'll continue to be a greater focus.
You know, I noticed we're doing a lot of competition out there with sunsets, it looks like. We got everybody, and I know we're competing with sunset pictures. That's incredible how some of them turn out, as a matter of fact. I've noticed we've had some on our site.
Yeah, every Sunday, we have Sunset Sunday.
Yeah.
On our social channels, and it's very popular, very active, especially this time of year when the sunsets seem to be more spectacular over the Gulf, and it's definitely a popular item on our social channels.
Yeah, and I see the Publix out there trying to compete with it too.
Oh,
so,
yeah, yeah, and everybody.
Sunset Sunday, I like that.
If you cross the Western Lake Bridge at sunset, there's cars all over the side of the road.
Yeah.
With everyone with their cameras out.
Cool.
A couple other projects in production, just wanted to touch on that we talked about before, the visitor guide. The mentioned visitor guide is still on track for a spring launch. That's currently in the writing and production phase. As well as the supplemental print pieces that we talked about, the guides for dining, shopping, golf, and other specific activities that'll be used to supplement the visitor guide. Those continue to progress. We've also invested in reshooting and re-editing our 16 beach neighborhood videos. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch a video on each of the 16 beach neighborhoods. They're coming up on almost 10 years old, so definitely due for a refresh. Again, it'll be a big part of our video, will be a big focus on our website once we get it rebuilt, and these 16 neighborhood videos will be a key component in that. So that's a project we're excited about. Shooting will start in January on that project, and we'll continue to build that library through the year. I mentioned the additional 360-degree videos. We'll have even more of those to share in the next couple of weeks on our social channels. And a little bit of awards information. We won a Silver Atrium Award from the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International for our weddings promotional video. That category had 1,100 entries, and we took silver, so exciting. We're proud of that one. So a little bit of good news to share with you.
Great.
Congratulations. Yeah.
That was before my time, so I can't, I'll congratulate the team and the agency team that was in place at the time. I can't take credit for that one.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm happy to answer any questions before I turn it over to Dawn for a sales update.
Just a quick question on the Boudin beer and bourbon.
Yeah.
It sounds like a real successful event.
Yeah.
Any idea what the cost of that total event? What did that cost us to put on that big booth?
Sure. The all in our, we're still kind of getting all the invoices in. It was about $100,000. Now, in that included the paid media in the market. So the expenses that went into it were paying the event for the actual footprint that we had, the travel to bring our staff and chefs along, activate our booth, as well as the paid media, the billboards and the digital ads that ran in the market.
Okay. Any other obvious events going on in places like growing markets like Dallas, Houston, that would be obvious for us to go put on a splash like that? Or?
Yeah, with the success of this one, we have started looking into more culinary events because it's such a nice way for us to showcase the destination and the culinary travel that we offer here. There are some in Chicago that we've identified coming up this fall. I know Dallas and Houston have some as well, and we've had different activations in those markets over the last couple of years at locations that we will not necessarily be going back to. So we're researching new opportunities similar to this one, where there's a large, already built-in audience that exists.
Any way to gauge the success that results from having that event?
Yeah, there's a lot of measurements. We take one, we measure the media like we would anything else.
Yeah.
Also, the uptick in website visits from that market immediately following the event. I don't have that information in front of me, but I remember seeing it was extremely high. So those are the best ways we're able to measure that.
Okay.
Nothing else. I'll turn it over to Dawn for sales update.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
morning, Ms. Dawn.
Just a few quick updates from me. Most recent are travel and sales missions Lunatic Connect Florida. We had 28 one-on-one clients in that two-day show that equated to 2 separate leads that we're working on now, both for 2018. So some good short-term business. And then we joined the rest of the team, one of our team members at Food and Bourbon and Beer to support that event. Upcoming, we actually will be traveling to Florida Encounter next week. We're sponsoring the VIP welcome reception, so that gives us a chance to show the destination video. We have a 5-minute presentation in front of all the attendees, and 2 of our partners are also attending, and that will give them an opportunity to present their destinations as well during that. And we'll also have one-on-one appointments, expecting 30 appointments at that. We're still waiting on our, we send in our request for who we want to meet with, and then they match us. So we're waiting to get that, but I think that will be a good show for us as well. We're also attending Georgia MPI. We're going to start being more involved in those monthly luncheons up in Atlanta. That's a good focus market for us from a corporate standpoint, so we'll be attending that in January and then supplementing that with some additional travel in March and through the summer there. We are very much in need of a new facilities guide, meeting guide, so we are in production now, going back to what it used to be from a larger footprint. The photography will be much better in telling the story of the destination and featuring all of our partners in a little more detailed and grand way, so we're excited about that. We attended database training, our Simple View training. It's helping us reacclimate into the database, clean it up, develop it more, and utilize it more from an outreach standpoint. We're working on lunch and learns for Q1 in our target markets. That will be us and our partners going into market to talk more about the destination and, more importantly, find new business for us. And we're also working with our partner DMI. One of the things we've heard loud and clear is that we want to focus more on incentive business. So working with them to identify opportunities for us to present the destination better and in different ways, and look for those clients who are more incentive-based. Visitor Center for September, we welcomed 1,101 visitors, which was a 1.3% increase from 2016. And in October, we saw 1,371 visitors, a 5.4% increase from 2016. Branded merchandise sales, the September number was down slightly, 3.3% decrease, and only $2,491, but that was because our inventory was so popular in the summer, we had depleted, we were waiting for new inventory to come back in. So you can see that when we did reach new inventory numbers for October, we sold $5,005, which is a 207% increase year over year. So we are now fully stocked back up and ready for season.
Good.
Are there any questions that I can answer?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn it over to you.
Dave,
Good morning.
good morning.
Morning.
All right, so this is the good news portion of our presentation today. Numbers remain really strong for communications and the articles that we've received so far. We have changed our pitch approach seasonally. We're going towards things that are less dependent on warm weather. So meetings, architectural trips, holiday events are good. We just received information yesterday from the CAA and their work they're doing with SWARA for the Underwater Museum. We've been pitching that, but we didn't have a lot of the key elements. We have a lot of demand for that, so we started sending out that information yesterday, and I expect we'll get some great pickups on that. From the media trips, you can see the Blaine Bachelor magazine trip that resulted in a great article over in the highlights. Jesse's out from the AJC. We've asked Turner to put a little more focus on events promotion. And you can see we're in the AJC. We've actually hit most of our major markets with holiday events and that sort of information. And Courtney Cox with Destination I Do, we just learned that we'll be in the spring issue of Destination I Do, which actually comes out in February. So that's great timing for weddings information to hit. Let's see. And then in January, we're going to relaunch the Connection newsletter. We've been out and talking to our partners about what they want to see there, what they would look forward to opening, and how we can present that to them. So it's going to be a much more information forward approach, nuts and bolts. So we'll get our partners the information that they're working for or looking for, and they can work with most easily. And page 2, I just showed you some of the clippings here. That great example of how a lot of this works. So some of them were those travel press trips where we bring people in. Others, honestly, are just working fast with our partners. The USA Today opportunity came through a relationship that Turner had there, and it was a writer working on a list, and we were able to get included in that, and by working with Great Beer Company, and they did a great job, a really quick turnaround, providing information and photos, and so that was good team effort. Got everybody in there. And that is the direction we are going PR and communication.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Good, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Bryan.
Morning, council members, Brian Kellenberg, Director of Beach Operations, with your beach operations update. It's all about garbage. Information you've seen before. At our annual meeting, some of us knew, I think we can show all the stuff we did. All right, so anyway, garbage year over year, 16 over 17, slight increase at 81,792 bags of garbage. This is a monthly quantification there. As you can see, July is by far our biggest month, 2,000 bags off the beach on a monthly basis. We also have it segmented by weight. As you can see, 129 tons. July, once again, the 3 months in the summer by far our biggest months. Also have it by dollar. Also have it by dollar-wise. This is a 3-year cost history. As you can see in 14-15, we were spending a little bit more than what we're spending in our last 2 years. Part of this is attributable to Josh Urban as our beach maintenance manager. Came up with some solutions that help us reduce our the amount of money we're paying for the garbage collection. That's money we pay Waste Management to come pick it up from our different transfer stations. Leave no trace, year over year, 16 over 17. Pretty big increase. I'd like to say that we're educating people on not to leave items on the beach, but that's simply not the case. This year they left twice as much as they did last year. And it's unfortunate, but our destination has truly become a place where people come and buy their products here, and they Friday of every week's a very good day for all their trades when they're doing the program. It's because they're headed home the next day and they say, I'm gonna park it right here on the beach.
It's more like leave your stuff instead of leave no trace.
We average about probably 24 to 36 cents a week. Some of them do get recycled, some of them are simply just garbage. The rest of it's chairs that are picked up at the local discount stores. They just don't care about. It's unfortunate, but that's true. Leave no trace by the month. As you can see, we don't do it the whole year. In the winter months, the tapers often enough that it's not efficient for us to send a guy out every night to do it. So we do it on a periodic basis, and we don't really tabulate those months. October, the Blink area is Hurricane Nate. We got everything off the beach, and it sat for a couple of days with no garbage collection. We were out in full force after that, getting everything off. As you see, it flatlined pretty much through at around 175 bags per day, a few spikes after Hurricane Dave. FY18 garbage, I'm sorry, this is October garbage, 18 over 17, slightly down this October versus last October. No reason for that I can attribute to it, it's just something that beach code enforcement. First graph is contacts by category. So this is what we did throughout the year. As you can see, dogs, glass, miscellaneous contacts, and bonfires takes up a large amount of our activity. That's because there's a lot of that going on, and a lot of that's proactive behavior by our code enforcement officers. The rest of them kind of fill out at about the same pace. It tapers off gradually. Last year we had 9,900 contacts. About 2,000 of those were various calls and meetings. So, in the 7,000, 7,500 range where we were actually dealing with people on a beach-related activity. So, we have 11 new officers, or 11 officers, 6 of those are new. It's really made a big impact on the beach, I think in a positive way. The people that have received enforcement action obviously don't think that, but, if you comply, all you do is get a big hello from us. 16, 17 number of contacts, as you can see, 9,900 over 3,800 last year for the fiscal year. Once again, that's attributable to doubling our workforce. Complaints by category, like I said, we slice and dice this every way we can. As you can see, this past year, customer use dominated the complaints. We had, I think, 860-something formal complaints, and 244 of those were regarding customer use. Now, keep in mind that not all complaints are valid complaints. Some of them are people that think they're valid, but they may not fit that particular scenario. Customer use was a big one. Customer use complaints have to be filed by the property owner. In other words, you as a neighbor can't file a customer use complaint because somebody is not using your neighbor's property in compliance with customer use. It has to come from the property owner. Risk complaints were wildlife lighting standards, some vendor violations, and it kind of tapers down through the regular stuff we do, glass and dogs, and then the other things are very small. Beach code enforcement contacts for October 2016 versus 2017. Once again, that large increase is equivalent to the amount of people we have out there. Next graphs are
Right.
stuff.
Brian, on the contact, on that, do you attribute that to, what do you attribute that to?
More officers on the beach more of the time. So with
More
officers-
opportunity for people to actually complain because they had somebody there to.
Well, this is contacts that we deal with people. So there's two ways we make contacts. That's through a proactive measure where we're on the beach, we're observing. There's also a reactive measure where we take the online complaints. They go straight into our system. Our officers pick them up as they come in. And then we try to, we have the beach segmented into 4 zones. And so that keeps officers from going running to the beach together. So when a complaint comes into that particular zone, officers assigned to that zone pick it up. And if they're in that area, they'll go ahead and extinguish the complaint. If they're not, they put it in queue to get to it as they're doing their route down the beach. So we're not a dispatch by complaint department. We do complaints as they come in and we put them in queue. But the reason for more contacts is a direct result of more code enforcement officers on the beach more of the time.
And there's more people.
And there's obviously, more opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
What was our increase, this year to the beach?
3.2, 3.0.
The rest of these graphs are different categories. I won't review with the details. You should have all this information. The most recent report was sent to you yesterday. This is actually October's report. It should have been sent sometime in early November. So it's all just basic stuff of what we do, and what the items are. It's good to read if you have any particular interests. If you have any questions, you can code enforcement updates, as you know, every year we go back to BCC with some recommendations for code revisions. This year, same thing, the big ones are tent sizes, of course. As you know, there's been a few rulings on the beach for lawsuits that were filed against Walton County. One of them was signs, post ropes, and fences. That was ruled in favor of the plaintiff. So the legal department is now rewriting that section of the code into an enforceable code. And the other one was customary use, where the court ruled in Walton County's favor, upheld it. I'm sure it'll get challenged in court, but as we go through this year, we will be enforcing the code as it's written and interpreted by the legal department. December 12th is the public hearing, 3 o'clock in this room, directly before the BCC meeting. And it will go over the basic revisions that we discussed in our previous meeting that have also been through the advisory committee meetings. And then there are a few text changes that were presented by the legal department. So that document should be published sometime this week. I'll make sure that y'all get a copy of it via email. And if you have interest in it, you come to the meeting and you can see how it goes. And then after that, whatever gets revised, we'll implement into the new. Capital improvement projects. As you know, everything we do is build. So our multi-use path repair and replacement, phase 2 of the Western Lake project is still under design and permit. We're having some issues with the state park system. Hope to get that ironed out. I think it's been ironed out in its form, just the actual former documents haven't been made back and forth. Public Works is actually administrating the construction, design and permitting of this project. We're simply funding it. So we work with Public Works pretty close on where we are. The next section, 283 to 83, we have received the prices in for that. We're going to BCC for approval on December 12th. We hope that construction starts sometime in January. Complete replacement of the path and the wooden bridges that are on that section of the path, Alligator, Little Redfish, and then the approaches of Big Redfish. About a 4-month project, so we should be done before summer hits, but definitely during spring we'll be under construction and closed. We'll put up appropriate signage, letting people know when closure dates are. There will not be an alternate route, we'll just simply have to be closed. Next one is our beach access renovations. As you know, the last 2 years we've started the design and permit process. It's been a very hard process with FDEP, but it is design and permitting for what I call a facelift of all of our regional beach access and neighborhood beach access boardwalks. We have received a few of those back in. What we did is we undertook it as an administrative permit versus individual field permits because we wanted to bid them out as lots. And so been a little bit more laborious than we thought it would be, but we have received some of them in from the different groupings. I just received notice that neighborhood groups 2 and 3, which is 12 of the boardwalks, we just received the administrative permit from FDEP for that today. So we'll be doing the intake meetings for construction on those. So over the next year, you'll see construction on different boardwalks at different times. Of course, we'll do it during the heat of the summer, when there's a lot of people here, but we'll do some before the summer and of course directly after. And we'll do it in lots so that no particular community has all its boardwalks closed down at one time. And of course, all that money was set aside in previous budgets. Beach access construction, as you know, we purchased 3 large pieces of property for regional beach accesses. The Ben Allen one is about 50% complete with design and permitting. The Miramar Beach recently got started. The engineer of record is Poly Engineering. They have started their surveying processes. We will meet with the Amalfi Coast group as directed by the BCC, and then we'll have a public workshop probably mid-January with a conceptual design, and then we'll move forward on design development. The other one is the Seagrove Beach Regional Beach Access, which is just east of the Legacy condominiums across the Tom Thumb Cafe 38. We have that with the BCC for approval of the engineer of record's proposal, and that is Atkins Engineers, and then they will start the process of design and permitting for that. design permit, produce all the bid documents, and then offer the construction admin services during construction. Once again, we'll construct those. It looks like we're gonna have some reserve funds available to do the last two. The other one already has funds for it. The Dunallen, Miramar, and Seagrave will use reserve funds, build those two. Probably start those late 2018 or 2019. Takes about 8 to 12 months for design permit. 38 parking project, we're winding down on the last of that. Dunallen, our Fort Panic Regional Beach Access, as you can see, we're in construction. We have curbs and gutters in. All the stormwater's in. We now have concrete pavers to put in. A little bit more work at Gulf Place to clean it up and do the landscaping. And we also have embarked on some more right-of-way parallel parking in between Fort Panic and the new Dunallen Regional Beach Access. Connect those two parks together with a right-of-way parallel parking, curb and gutter, and landscaping to beautify. Our TDC warehouse renovation, as you know, that project came in over budget. We have taken a few months to pare down the design. Had that almost complete. We'll put that back out for bid if we can get it back in budget and get that completed. As you know, we're now doing permitting out of our office and desperately need the public lobby atmosphere versus what we have right now. So anyway, I feel comfortable we'll get that back in budget and get moving on that. Any questions, comments? No. Which operations?
Questions? All good.
All right.
Thanks,
sir.
Brian.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Brian. You guys got the toughest job.
All right, I'm back.
Mr. J.
I just wanted to do a little recap of that. Where is the slide for? Can you go forward? Or you got that one? Yeah, that's it. That's not good. So I just wanted to do a little recap for FY17. Went over some numbers at our annual meeting at the end of October, and I thought it would be nice to share it with the council so you can kind of see what's going on with our numbers. So this first slide here highlights a side-by-side comparison between FY16 and FY17. And there's a couple of things that I want to highlight there. You can kind of see some double-digit growth there in both the spring and the fall, and a little bit in the summer and June, obviously peak season. But I think it's nice to note that shoulder season is growing. Obviously, you have that 23% growth in October and almost 16% growth in November of last year. So that's good to see that we're growing the shoulder seasons, kind of driving our economy further outside of peak season. The next slide, you can kind of just see that is a, you got an order there. Matt, can you go back to, there you go. That one there, FY17, you see $23,527,710. Compared to FY16, $21,754,913. That was a 8.7% increase year over year. So that's nice growth for us, and it's nice to see that we're still growing that year over year. There we go, RevPAR here. You can kind of see our occupancy, our room rates, and our RevPAR. We have some nice growth there from year over year. Occupancy, we had 60%, 1.5% increase. Room rates, an average of 291, and that's a 4.5% increase. And then the RevPAR at 183, that's a 7.2% increase year over year. So I think the big thing is, what does all that mean to our economy and Walton County? 22,000 jobs are generated by the tourism industry. So that's pretty significant. Last year we were at just 19,000, so we added several thousand jobs year over year. So it's nice to see we have growth in employment as well. The next slide you see there, over 3.8 million visitors spend $2.5 billion. So obviously the economic impact of $3.7 billion is very significant to our economy. I mean, it's obvious tourism is the driving force in our economy in Walton County. In this next slide, I think this is always nice for people to know, because I think sometimes people ask the question of, what does tourism mean in Walton County? Why do we have so many tourists here? Well, this is what it means. Of all the taxes that are paid, the average visitors pay over 65% of the taxes in Walton County, so that's significant. And then on average, Walton County households save an average of $1,000. So I think that means a lot for the working families in Walton County that, you know, visitors here are supporting them with their jobs and then also lower taxes. And this next slide, obviously, we all know this, but it's nice just to always share it, that we are funded by the 4% vet tax from TDC, and that comes solely from visitors and not from locals paying the tax. And this last slide, just a little breakdown real quick of our budget for last year. You can kind of see there a breakout of marketing and beach operations, pretty much equal, and then the breakdown of admin, sales, and PR, rounding out the other roughly 12%. So with that, I have a couple of things that I wanted to comment on. It's not in your books, but the TDC collections for October of this year came in, and they were a little bit shy of last year's, about $33,000, so pretty insignificant number, but nevertheless still down. I think Nate might have had a little bit something to do with that in the beginning of October. I know we had some cancellations due to that, but the number, we were at $1,350,821, and last year we were at $1,384,023. So like I said, just 33,000 shy, so that's pretty good. I will say that our growth for October continues, double-digit growth over the past 3 years, minus this year, but previous years. So I think that's nice to see that we're still growing October. I think there is still some room to grow, obviously, in the future. One comment that I want to make in regards to sometime last year when we were talking about transportation with both Sunshine Shuttle and 654 Limo, the council decided, you know, we're going to send out a letter to the Attorney General and get an opinion on what we can and can't do in regards to transportation. Well, I'm happy to say we finally got a response back from the Attorney General. It was late last week when we received a letter, and we have a copy of it in the packets. And so I shared that letter with both Clay Atkinson, TDC Council, and with Sidney Noyes, Walton County Council. And they are both in the process of preparing a summary of the opinion. And so I don't have that for today's meeting, and I apologize for that, but because of the short notice, I at least wanted to share the news. And basically, based on what the letter says, the initial interpretation by both Clay and Sidney is that we can use TDC funds to support transportation. What that looks like at this point, we're still not 100% clear, and that's something, like I said, we'll be having a meeting in the next week with both Clay and Sidney to kind of get that all flushed out, and then we'll bring that back to you at the February meeting with their summary of what that means and how they interpret that.
Jay, now that we've got this and Structured Parking Solutions has made proposals, do they also assist in finding reasonable vendors, or is that part of their scope or not?
That is something within the scope of their project. Transportation was proposed in there, and so depending on how Clay and Sidney interpret this, that could very well be a part of their proposal to the board. Obviously, you heard Greg speak earlier of what they're initially proposing, and initially it's limited shuttles, but I think now since we have this opinion from the Attorney General, I think there could be an expanded system beyond just regional shuttles.
Okay.
Good question.
Just curious. Thank you.
So any other questions about the Attorney General opinion? I'll be happy to answer it as best I can at this point. So I meet with both Clay and Sidney.
It was a nice surprise, to be honest with you.
It took a while to get back to us, but obviously, again, it takes time to do their due diligence and research all that. So we appreciate them, getting the information back to us.
That's good.
That's all I have for today. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Jay, a couple of meetings ago, you brought up to the council that you had received a letter from, I'm doing this from memory, I think it was Ashley from 360.
Ashley, yeah, from 360.
And she had written a letter and then sent it out to a number of the rental agencies and asked them to sign on to that letter. And it was in regards to VRBO.
Correct.
And HomeAway and Expedia, which are all the same company now. And what they've done on VRBO is they don't show who owns the property until you book the property. But they charge up to 9%. I thought it was 12, but it's actually a 9% reservation fee. And then once you pay that, then you can see who you're actually doing business with. So you might be talking to some person in Pakistan who's never seen the property, and is trying to sell it to you, and then they get hit with this up to 9% fee to be able to see who actually owns the property. And I think that was Ashley's big concern, was that we start marketing Book It Local. And I own a rental agency, and we send a letter out to all our owners, every rental person on my rental list, from, it's got thousands of names on it, saying that by booking local, you're dealing with somebody that knows the property, that's been in the property, that knows the amenities. Book with us, don't pay the extra fee. We were very blunt. I think I sent you a copy of it.
It was a very nice piece. I did take a look at that. It
And-
covered different angles of how the customer can benefit from booking local.
Right, but when you brought that up, and the reason I'm bringing it up today is that there was some discussion at that time that the TDC also do something on behalf of Walton County and all of the rental companies, whether they own 1 or 1,000 rental units, is that the TDC sends something out in their marketing efforts to book local.
What we're gonna do is I've tried unsuccessfully to reach Ashley several times, and so at this point, I think what I'm gonna do is schedule a meeting and invite all the signers of that letter and others as well to a meeting where we can just discuss it as a group. And then we can kind of formulate a plan based on the feedback that we receive. And then what I'll do is I'll bring back an update on those efforts at the next meeting. But at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and schedule a meeting and invite folks to come and participate.
Well, after 2 months or whatever, if Ashley isn't willing to, she may have started it, but she certainly isn't responding to you,
Yeah,
if I'm real blunt.
I've reached out several times, and Lisa has as well. And we've been
But
unsuccessful.
she brought up something that's very important, and it was brought up, I think, 2 meetings ago, and I think it's important enough to bring it up and forget that Ashley brought it up. Give her credit for bringing it up, but if she doesn't want to participate, that's fine. But I wanted to follow through that not only, I think your suggestion is a good one, invite all the rental agencies to sit down, and I sent you mine. I'm not waiting. I'm sending it out because I don't want them booking on VRBO, and it's been such a popular vehicle to get people. It's been the most popular, and now in addition to this charge, they're trying to sell insurance, which takes money out of our pockets. They know nothing about our amenities. They're going backwards very fast. And then on top of that, we pay a subscription for every house that's on VRBO. And then the guest has to pay an additional up to 9%. So they're taking everybody to cleaners is really what it boils down to. Expedia just bought the whole business.
Yeah.
But
because we actually, some of our hotel rooms actually ended up on VRBO, and we were wondering how the hell that happened, and that's because Expedia owns them. And,
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of weird.
I think this whole idea of booking local and getting everybody behind it, if you take everybody's mailing list, your mailing list, and put that together and send out a message like I did, you're going to make a tremendous impression that it's not only cheaper, but it's actually more desirable and more in favor of the guest to deal with somebody who knows, has been in the property, knows the amenities, et cetera, than to talk to somebody that's in Pakistan. So if you would follow through on that.
Sounds like something you might want to raise to the top. Because I don't know if this could create a negative image for our area with this kind of stuff that's going on, all these extra costs and all that. That could probably overflow into our area.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. I didn't know that much about that, but
We're talking about a 9-10% fee. I mean,
yeah.
it's substantial.
And then the other costs and insurance, and just all of a sudden it's just kind of like it makes the area look like you're trying to sell additional products or something, to the tourist.
They're really trying to get a stranglehold on the market, and I don't think it's fair to the TDC or to the people that have rental properties in South Walton. And on your point, it can actually hurt us.
And speaking of rentals, I ran into William Pennington last week when I was up in Phoenix for a meeting, and he told me that the new program that they're using to identify marketing efforts by VRBOs and Airbnbs in particular has has been very successful. He told me that they have identified 120 Airbnb participants who have not been paying the tax. And so they have sent in letters. And they can also actually go back and collect in arrears. So I'm happy to see that program they invested in is working for them.
Good.
I think our decision to stay with Walton County, it looks like what they're collecting in uncollected revenue is far exceeding what we give them for a collection fee. And it stays in the county, which, you know, I don't like giving stuff to the Department of Revenue until I ask it. So I think in hindsight, we made a good decision to do that. And I'm really happy with Pennington giving you that report, because what they're picking up with their program is pretty incredible. So.
And they know the area. I mean, you know, what better way of doing it is somebody that knows the area, you know, and that group's part of the group, part of the program. Sure. All right, any other questions for the director? All right, any comments from the public? All right, I have a couple things to say. I want to thank Jay. I tell you what, it's just been an interesting year. It's been, I don't know, he's on his third pair of tennis shoes. I don't know if he's got them on still. But I have to say that he has put together one heck of a team. And as you can see, Richard was giving me some credit. Well, I'll take a little bit of it, but I'm going to give it to Jay, because he's done a very good job of putting this together and putting the team together. And they work very hard, and you can tell they're passionate about their jobs. Much appreciated to everybody, and thank you to our vendors. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
And just real quick, I'd like to add, Tim, just thank you for those kind words, but it's not just me, it's my whole team. I mean, we have, 60 plus employees who work tirelessly on behalf of the county over at the TDC. So I have to give kudos to all of them for the job that they do every day.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye. Third. There we go.
I don't see you. Merry Christmas. I will see you at the canteen, I promise. Okay, good.
Good to see you. Nice seeing you.
All right, guys.
Sir.
Merry Christmas.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas, guys.
Be great. Tim,
Thank you, Matt.
well done.
Looking sharp today.
A candy cane time.
All right.
Well, I said, you need a candy cane for Christmas. I said, you're right. I said, what do I have? Candy cane.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Look, this year I'm not wearing a jacket.